Amnesty, amnesty everywhere. You know, just a few years ago, the president said, well, I'm not emperor, and this is almost a direct quote, I'm not emperor, and I can't, just legalize millions of people without Congress helping.
But ultimately, I think somebody said the other day, I am president, I am not king. I can't do these things just by myself. We have a system of government that requires the Congress to work with the executive branch to make it happen. I'm committed to making it happen, but I've got to have some partners to do it.
And now Obama and the Democrats who say they have his back are going to legalize 4 or 5 million illegal immigrants with a stroke of a pen. Now, Obama and also Bill Clinton, they both say, oh, I have the legal grounds, I'm on good legal standing, even though the president said a few years ago he could not act without Congress. He was not emperor. So I guess you might as well start calling him Emperor Obama. Who's going to, by a stroke of his pen, going to change immigration law and legalize millions of illegal immigrants.
The progressive agenda is just a war on every level of society, every economic group, and especially the middle class, because they want to eliminate it. In socialist economies, they don't have a middle class. There's an elite class that runs everything and controls all the wealth, and then one big lower class.
You know what I think? I think the policies of the Democrats are so bad, and they do not want to change them. They're so bad they have to import an underclass, a group of people who no matter what happens here, it's way better than where they came from in Mexico and South America and Central America. No matter what, they're just importing a class of voters who will put up with their terrible policies.
¿De dónde eres usted primero?
El Salvador.
¿También?
México.
México, ¿de dónde es México?
Puebla. Guatemala.
Guatemala también?
Guatemala.
We're recruiting and training Latino organizers.
The antiquated immigration system needs to be changed.
We will transform this nation.
We can have a new LSA. You can have stations in the border states. A station in each state.
¿Qué porcentaje de gente en México quieren volver a América?
Es el 80%, el 90% no.
Apoyo a Obama, ¿por qué?
Por el plan de salud.
¡Viva Obama! ¡Viva Obama! Y este plan de salud.
I am going to march with you every step of the way to make sure that we are welcoming every striving immigrant who sees America the same way we do.
¿Por qué no te quedas y trabajar en tu propio país?
Porque el problema de que no puedo quedarme en mi país es por el sistema del socialismo.
It's so diabolical, and so Central and South America is collapsing under communism right now and socialism. So they run up here to get the free health care, but no, that just collapsed their country.
Well, they're being used. They're being used by our socialists to destroy this country as well. The difference between today's socialists and Marxists in the Democrat Party and the Marxists from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s is back then they would look you in the eye and say, we're going to destroy you. We're going to destroy America. Now they look you in the eye and say, we want to help poor people. And then they do the same thing.
They go, oh, it's children, when only something like 17% are under 18. And the illegals that are coming have huge criminal records. They can get fake identities. How do you become a new person? You don't have to change your identity or anything. You just come to the U.S. and be whoever you want. Kill as many people as you want. Do whatever you want.
Well, here in California, for example, 50% of the prison population are illegals. We have the Nortes, the Cedeños, different criminal gangs. The people coming over the border are not people that see America the same way we do. They're people with completely different agendas, and Obama is lying to everybody with a very evil plan.
Obama's plan is to use illegal aliens as seedlings, and they will navigate, not assimilate, as they take over the host and create a country within a country and start pushing the citizens into the shadows. Now, why is that important? Because as they do that, we'll be shooting a few of them because a lot of them are going to be criminals. But welcome to a big part of the fundamental transformation of America. Ms. Payne says that while she was at an immigration rally, she became privy to 3 conference calls in which 16 Obama administration officials, including Cecilia Munoz, director of Obama's White House Domestic Policy Council, discussed plans for what could only be called the final destruction of traditional America and the cementing of the leftist hegemony. Munoz, by the way, is perfectly suited to this task. She was once a senior vice president for the anti-American Hispanic lobbying organization, the National Council of La Raza. If you don't know what that means the race. I guess the Hispanics believe they are the race. She opened the interview by explaining what Obama actually did on November 21st, the day he signed his supposed executive amnesty, was create the task force on New Americans for the purpose of his, putting together his legalization scheme. And it won't be applied to 5 million, as he stated. The plan is to apply it to 13 to 15 million to give protection to and move into citizenship. The illegals are labeled seedlings, and the eventuality is that they are going to take over the host. And then the immigrants will come out of the shadows. According to Ms. Payne, that's where the citizens begin to be pushed back into the shadows. They will be taking over the country. And one of the members of the task force let loose that they would be developing a country within a country. To this end, the Task Force for New Americans, the goal is to create a welcoming feeling in illegally seeded localities, which would be redesignated receiving communities. Subsequently, they would be transformed into what is labeled emerging immigrant communities, or as some would say, Mexico Norte. The officials also said, according to Ms. Payne, that for the seedlings to grow, they need fertile soil. Read that to mean your money. The legalized aliens need to be redesignated as refugees and be given cash, medical care, credit cards for purchasing documents, and since many illegals will be older, Social Security, so they can age successfully within their country that's within a country. They're setting it up to where we will be funding our own destruction. Now, why should we take Ms. Payne seriously? From Gun Owners of America, we've heard for a long time that this is going to be, they're trying to use this as, one of the side effects of this would be the death of the Second Amendment. All the while, of course, we do have legal immigration that they're just completely ignoring because the left wants to import their voters. They want to engage in demographic warfare, and they want to author the death of the republic. The coup de grace that Obama will use against rightist opposition is mostly embodied in just one word, amnesty. That, along with other measures, will both grow the Hispanic voting bloc and ingratiate Obama to it. And this will enable him to create a powerful coalition of Black America, young voters, and Hispanics that, along with the older whites that he may be able to retain, they're hoping will constitute an insurmountable electoral force. And that's why amnesty has long been the dream of the Democrats. Now, who's there to stand in the way? What do we have? We have John Boehner and McConnell. Obama against Boehner is the Beltway brawler versus the Beltway baller. And to a certain degree, I suspect that a lot of the establishment Republicans, like my senior Senator Lindsey Graham, want executive amnesty. Why do they want it? They want it because the issue's been a big thing hanging around their necks. And while they don't have the guts or the desire to stand up against Invasion USA, they also know voting for amnesty would mean electoral disaster. So if Obama does it, they can claim to be against it, keep their office. Obama does it, the issue's off the table, and they can move on to something else. It's easy to do. After the November election, Obama said it was his profound preference and interest to see Congress act on a comprehensive immigration reform bill. But he's going to be working via executive orders. He's trying to ban ammunition via executive orders. He wants to raise taxes via executive orders. We have a king now. We have a king.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to see how well we do in this election. And I think a lot of it is going to depend on whether we still have some support, not only from Democrats, but also Republicans. But they're going to be paying attention to this election. And if Latinos sit out the election, instead of saying we're going to punish our enemies and we're going to reward our friends who stand with us on issues that are important to us.
And yes, if the Obama administration intends for immigrants to take over the host, that being the United States, he is the enemy. And any that will aid and abet him are the enemy. And what I like to specialize in is the solution. It may be the only solution. It may be the last solution. Let's talk about the options here, okay? There's always the courts. Now, Obama can just ignore the courts, and, you know, I would expect he would, because this is something he really wants. He didn't get gun control, but see, if he gets amnesty, later on down the road, somebody that's on his side gets gun control. They get the removal of the Second Amendment is what they get. Later on down the road, he'll be the precipitator for it. Now, there are a lot of people that think amnesty has always been a matter of time based on the way today's culture thinks about things. But there is, like all things, there's a silver lining to this cloud. The left has been very successful, very slowly boiling the frog with this legal importation of socialist voters and the gradual transformation of our culture via entertainment and the media and academia. By going all in on executive orders and amnesty, by going from evolutionary to revolutionary change and turning the burner up high, the left risks snapping the frog out of that hypnosis and letting him know that he's in pain. And when the frog becomes aware of that, how should it jump? Now, when he was telling the Republicans after they won this November victory that he'd like to see a bill, what he's saying is that his preference would be to follow the Constitution. He said, you send me a bill that I can sign and these executive actions go away. Translation, send me a bill that says the same thing as my executive actions and executive orders, and I'll stop doing them. But he's also saying that my will be done one way or the other. So what do you do when someone tells you my preference is to follow the game's rules, but if I can't win that way, I'll have to cheat? You have a few options. You can continue to be Charlie Brown. You can keep thinking that Lucy's not going to pull the football away. You can cheat right back, which is going to be hard to do without judges in your back pocket, or you can stop playing the game. Now, politicians verbally, okay, and publicly always follow option number one. They want to be Charlie Brown. Far be it for them to violate a law, even if it's an unconstitutional law, and therefore lawless. But a lot of people like me, and probably a lot of people like you, pick option number 3. And this means nullification. Now, the Constitution is a contract that you and I have with each other. And some of the each others make it into positions like President of the United States. So what happens when one party subject to the contract continually violates it in order to advantage itself, aided and abetted by a corrupt judge or a corrupt judicial system? That contract is null and void. Cheaters never voluntarily stop cheating. So within the states, within the individual states, and they're starting to sort of go that way, but the governors and the legislatures within these states need to man up. They need to reach down and grab their fortitude, and they need to man up. They need to call the feds up on the Fed hotline and say, you like acting unilaterally and unconstitutionally? We too can play that game. And that means not just ignoring what you dictate, but we're going to nullify a multitude of other things as well. The other option is a demographic and cultural genocide and the politics that attend that. And the left knows this. Amnesty will decide who's in charge of the country for the next 20 or 30 years. Make no mistake about it. It is nefarious the way it's designed. An ex-advisor to former Prime Minister Tony Blair confessed in 2009 that the goal of the British Labour Party's massive culture-rending immigration was to rub the right's nose, the right in Britain, to rub their nose in diversity and render their arguments out of date. Unfortunately for Britain, and in most cases in Britain, over here it seems to be Hispanics that they want to import. In Europe, it was Muslims. So a political party, in order to take over, to render another political party, to render them obsolete or render them weak, harmless, imported a group to make a country within a country And the problem is that country that's within the country is expanding, just like it will here. And it will consume them. It will consume the leftists in time. That's the thing about this kind of contagion. It is consuming. And once it consumes your enemies, it's still hungry. And it will come for you. Fear not, leftists. Do not be afraid. While you're there implementing that, people like me are waiting. And we will deal with this. We will defy and we will nullify.
My name is Jamil Shaw. My son, Jamil Andre Shaw II, was murdered by a dreamer, DACA recipient, a child brought to this country by no fault of his own. My family's peace and freedom were stolen by an illegal alien from Mexico. He was brought here by his illegal alien parents and allowed to grow up as a wild animal. Some people believe that if you are brought over by no fault of your own, that it makes you a good person. They want us to believe that Dream Act kids don't murder. I am here to debunk that myth. Kids brought over the border by no fault of their own do kill Americans. How many Americans killed by illegal aliens are too many? 1, 2, 100, 1,000, 100,000? Ask any parent whose child was murdered by an illegal alien how many is too many. As one of those parents, I am here to tell you that 1 is too many. My son, Jamil Shaw II, was murdered while walking on his own street, 3 houses down from his home. An illegal alien on his 3rd gun charge was visiting a neighbor when my son was coming home. He shot my son in the stomach and then in the head, killing him. Do black lives really matter, or does it matter only if you are shot by a white person or a white policeman? The district attorney proved in court that my son was murdered because he was black and wearing a Spider-Man backpack. Jamil's mother, Army Sergeant Nita Shaw, who was serving in Iraq fighting for their freedom, called me from Iraq to ask, was it true that Jazz was dead? And Jazz is the name we call our son, his nickname. How many other military families have made that same phone call from some foreign land in disbelief that their sons or daughters have been killed in America by illegal alien invaders? Do military families matter? Dream Act kids have turned my family's American dream into a nightmare. The illegal alien dreamer that murdered my son only served 4 months of an 8-month sentence for assault with a deadly weapon and battery on a police officer. He was released from the county jail the day before he executed my son. Why was this violent illegal alien allowed to walk the streets of America instead of being deported? Why was ICE not called to pick up this violent invader? We were promised that the federal government would keep us safe from violent illegal aliens. Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution guarantees us protection against invasion. I see and hear black politicians, black athletes, black stars say, hands up, don't shoot. My son was shot in the head by an illegal alien gangbanger while he lay on his back with his hands up. He still shot him through his hand into his head and killed him. My son thought he could walk down the street and not be murdered by an illegal alien, that he could depend on the government to secure our borders and keep the bad people out. Yes, black families matter. Yes, military families matter. All families matter. But the duty of the U.S. government is to always put American families first. Honorable Chairman, I had a different name, I'm sorry. Honorable Chairman, Ranking Member, today's hearing was called to review the Department of Homeland Security's policies and procedures for the apprehension and detention and release of non-citizens unlawfully present in the United States. In his November 20th, 2014 speech to the nation on immigration, President Obama said, if you are a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The president said he wanted to work with both parties to pass a more permanent legislative solution. The President also said, and to those members of Congress who question my authority to make our immigration system work better or question the wisdom of me acting where Congress has failed, I have one answer: pass a bill. In 3 of the past 4 Congresses, Representative Walter Jones has introduced the Legal Alien Crime Reporting Act, which would address many of the issues this hearing was called to discuss, but could never get a hearing. In the 113th Congress, Representative Jones renamed the bill after my son, H.R. 1888, the Jamil Shaw Jr. Memorial Act of 2013. Never got a hearing. As we sit here today, I offer for consideration H.R. 1041, Jamil Shaw II Memorial Act of 2015. It is only 2 pages long, but chops at the root of the problem. Until the FBI is allowed to track and report illegal alien crime, it is doubtful that the American people will understand how severe the problem of violent illegal alien crime is. I doubt any 10 people would define comprehensive immigration reform the same way. But I can assure you that what we really need is comprehensive immigration enforcement, secure borders and ports of entry, and the oversight of Congress is to ensure that America and American families are job one.